You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, speaking about exciting, speaking about young upcoming talent, speaking about names and wrestlers that the independent wrestling community and WWE fans will know and recognize. I'm so excited about tonight's guest. I've known this young man for about as long as he's been in wrestling. I was very fortunate to meet him and become pretty good friends with him when he was still young in the business before he became the guy that he is now. When he was just trying to make his way in wrestling, he was young, he was hungry, he had a lot of things going on in his life, and he was so focused and so determined. I was fortunate enough to see him at this point in his career reach the highlight of his career right now. So without further ado, I want to bring to you the Wrestling Nerdcast wants to bring to you the PWX ITV champion, the revolutionary Darius Lockhart. Darius, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good, and you?
I'm doing great, man. I just want to jump straight into it because, and we could skip the why'd you get into wrestling and who, because we know from following your Facebook and your social media that you are a product of the critically acclaimed George South School, the School of George South. This man has trained not only you, but WWE star Cedric Alexander, Mae Young Classic participant Tessa Blanchard. He's had a hand in honing the skills of Caleb Conley and a bunch of other names and stuff. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. That is very correct.
All right, so like I said, I don't want to get into who's your favorite wrestler, because other podcasts will talk about that. I want to talk about what's going on now, man, because I was in the building in Concord, North Carolina, when you won the PWX ITV championship. And my first impression, and Mika, you've seen Darius Lockhart, correct?
I have.
It had been a while. It had been a couple of months since I've seen Darius, because now, we're traveling in kind of different circles as far as wrestling goes. The first impression that I was sitting there in the crowd, actually just watching and enjoying the show. And when Darius came out, your presence, your poise was unbelievable and incredible. And I couldn't believe this was the same guy who had rode with me and Joe Black to Memphis, 2-3 years ago. But what impressed me more than anything else is that there was a little white girl, maybe 8 or 9 years old, like 2 rows ahead of me. And as soon as your music hit, her face got bright red, and she jumped in her chair, and she threw up her right hand into a fist, and she just started yelling out, "Be a revolutionary." And I told some people that was around me, I was like, you know what? When you can get 8 and 9-year-old little white girls to jump out of their chair and throw over the Black Power sign and yell out, "Be a revolutionary," that's when you know you're on. 2-3 years ago, when you first started, man, did you think it was going to end up being like this?
No, not at all. I hoped it would be, I hoped it would be. Everyone hoped it would be like this. And I think that was my intention, but I didn't think it would happen so quickly. You know what I mean? Especially doing what I'm doing with what I stand for and what I believe in, everything like that. It takes me back any time I come out to the ring and see a bunch of, just a bunch of white fists up in the air throwing a black fist sign, whether that be kids or adults or, old Southerners. It's still mind blowing to me. I was in Winston-Salem a couple weeks ago, and I do a move now where I yell out "No justice, no peace" before I drop kick somebody, and by the end of the match, the entire gymnasium was yelling "No justice, no peace," and this stuff, it just keeps getting more and more surreal to me. So if I can just keep that going, man, I didn't see it going this way, but I'm so glad it has.
Now, let me ask you a question, man. I know I've asked you this before, but what is the mind state? What's the motive? Because I guess it's not really a gimmick to you. It's who and what you are. It's not a very safe, I guess, for lack of a better word, I'm going to use the word gimmick, but it's not a very safe gimmick, man. And it's not the typical black guy gimmick. Why? Why put yourself out there on a limb like that?
I put myself on a limb like that because it was something I wholeheartedly believed in, man. It was around the end of 2015 or beginning of 2016 when it started coming together, where, I'm always an avid student of the game. So I'm always listening to what, veterans are telling me, or, what people who have done and accomplished what I want to accomplish have already said. And, I heard a lot of people bringing up the notion that, find something about you and amplify it times 10. You know what I mean? And that's where the best characters are. Austin had his disregarding his authority. He amplified it times 10 and became Stone Cold. The Rock and his arrogance or his confidence, and he amplified it times 10, and that was The Rock. So I was like, I had to look down at myself. 2015, toward the end of the beginning of 2016, when I was overseas, was a huge moment of exploration for me. It was just that whole time period where I was kind of looking within and trying to understand who I was as a person, because I'm only 22 this month, but 21 at the time. And so I had to do a lot of self-searching and realize what was important to me. And at the time, I think a lot of the incidents were going on with, we were fresh off the Trayvon verdict, and we were heading into Lamont, Scott and all those things like that. And I was thinking to myself, like, I felt so helpless. I felt like there was something I could be doing, and sitting, online or just at my house or at home, kind of moping about, just wasn't good enough for me. So I was thinking, how could I use my platform for the better? How could I do, something that resonated with people? How can I use my power for the best? So to me, that was taking, I was already in African diaspora studies minor in college. I just graduated from UNCG. So I was already in the right area, the mindset. So I said, let's just go with what I know. Let's just go with what I feel, go within, and just take off from there. So I just kind of used things that were important to me, or some of the things I was studying, and implemented it within my character. I figured that the best case scenario was that I could educate others, or open people's minds, or open people's eyes to what was really going on, without having to, I don't want to say force feed it down their throats, but I was trying to find a way I could do it within a manner where people wouldn't object to it automatically. A lot of times, I know you guys see it online. I know I'm being long-winded, but a lot of times we see it online that people are less receptive to, let's say, call-out culture, or people, just telling them what it is. Some people don't understand or can't understand, or are in a position to understand. So why not use what we all love, something that's very simple, to just simply open that door or pass the microphone, or be that gateway into a kind of a little bit of enlightenment there to what people are struggling with. Now, so I try to use my power for good, Bailey. Yeah.
Now, I will admit on my own show that the first time I saw you with the trunks, the black trunks with the Black Lives Matter on the logo on the back of them and stuff. In my head, I was like, I immediately was like, oh shit, like this is a death sentence right here, like Darius is so good. Like, please don't become political. Like, you're gonna box yourself in, and you're gonna offend so many people. And I will admit, once again, on my own show, that I was completely wrong. Like the fans of not only PWX, but the fans of everywhere you go are so receptive to you, because you're not in your face preaching to people. It's just very subtle. That people, listen to it. But I want to ask you this question before I pass it to Mika for the first time. What was the response from older wrestlers, from I guess you'd call vets and other wrestlers in the locker room when you first got that gear, first started wearing it to the ring?
Well, it was, a lot of them were similar to yours. A lot of them saw them like, oh, you sure you want to do that? A lot of them saw me and was like, you take off those trunks, or like, you might want to think about switching that off. You'll never get signed. You'll never get a look by anybody if you keep wearing that. I mean, there was a lot of people, and I don't think it came from a malicious place. Like, much like yours, it was a concern out of love or like, caring about my career. So a lot of people were kind of hesitant to jump on board. They didn't think it was going to work. And so it wasn't just, it wasn't just you. But there was a few who kind of mainly kept it quiet, but I feel like they thought that I might have had something. Even like one of my trainers, Cedric himself, had a little bit of reserves, but he was open to see what happened to it. So for the most part, vets were kind of like worried for me as well. But I like to think that they kind of come a little bit more into my court on this one. Now that my success has come up with it,
Oh yeah, like I said, I would definitely admit, man, that you are over like I've never seen anybody else, not only in that company, but in North Carolina, period, man. I'm going to go ahead and pass it to my co-host, Mika, because I know she has some questions for you. So, Mika, what do you have for the Revolutionary tonight?
She does. She does. Like, as a fan, I'm just listening and I'm nodding my head here. But yeah, when I first saw, I wasn't totally familiar with Darius. But when I saw that Black Lives Matter, I was like, ooh, okay. But I think it stopped me enough to want to pay attention. And do you feel that is where the door opens, where people see like, oh, he's doing this, and they stop, and then they stop and go, oh, wait, well, there's more. And I think like that's how I felt, and that's how I found myself becoming a fan, and saying, okay, here we go. What would you say to those people who don't stop and they just kind of, throw you in that category, that box, like, oh, he's going to be that guy, What would you say to those people if you have to open the chance to?
I would say I totally understand the gripe. Like I said, people have gone down this path a little bit before, but have done it maybe a little bit with less taste or maybe a little bit more abrasive. So I understand if anyone's not open to it. By all means, everyone has their own taste and what they will and won't accept or what they prefer. That's fine. I totally understand it. I ask that you be patient with me, and then be open to it and understand where I'm coming from. Let the work speak for itself. You know what I mean? But anyone who doesn't see the vision right away, I just ask that you wait. If you don't feel like waiting, that's okay. There's a million wrestlers. It's for a million people. Like Jack Sabre says, pro wrestling's for everybody. I just may not be your flavor. So, that's perfectly fine.
All right. Speaking of patience and presence was brought up, you do have this interesting, unique presence. And you're relatively young. Like you said, you just turned 22. So you have this older man's persona. Where do you get that from? Or where do you think you get that from?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, because presence is something I've been trying to work on for years now, I guess. I always remember the presence of my other favorite wrestlers, and if I said I'm not going to have half the presence those guys have, it would mean something. So for you guys to even pick up on that really means a lot to me. But second, I guess I want to say I always kind of been an old soul. My mom always picked on me, like through birth. She would call me her little old man. I've always been a kid who just wanted to learn and just know things that were beyond my time. I mean, from, age 6, watching, MASH or the Andy Griffith Show, you know what I'm saying? Or anything like that. I was watching Superfly when I was 12 years old. You know what I mean? I was always an older thing. So it was just, I think that probably has something to do with it. I was always an older kid or older soul. I always want to hang out with older kids. So probably things like that.
Old souls. Okay. So there is something that you accomplished that I think that is amazing. And a lot of people, I'm pretty sure would agree. And the I title is, a great accomplishment that I'll get back to, but the college is just phenomenal because I think a lot of people just don't keep pursuing education. What made you keep at it? And how was that support system going from wrestling to school? Because you're doing a whole lot on the road, and there's a whole lot of sacrifice that you have to do for both school and wrestling.
Mm-hmm. So what was the question one more time?
I'm sorry. What made you keep pursuing the education portion? Because a lot of people would have stopped. Yeah.
Well, honestly, education was important in my family from day one. I was privileged enough to know that it was expectation for me to go to college. My mother never really presented it as not to say an option. She never presented it as something like, hey, you don't do, but it was always shown in my family that it's just kind of part, what we do. It's expected. Education, like I said, has been huge in my family from day one. I had a great uncle who went back to school at age 93 and got his GED. So like it's always been part of us. So I just felt that it could always be beneficial to me, especially with wrestling. You never know what's going to happen. You never know when you might get that injury and the paycheck stop coming in or whatever. So along with it being the core value of my family and my upbringing, I understood that we need backup plans. Hello, do you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you lose me?
I hear you. I'm here.
Okay.
Kev.
Okay, apparently Will's out there lost in the wilderness. Will, come back.
Okay.
Find the light, Will. Find the light, Will. Will's gone. Okay, Will's gone. He'll dial back in a minute.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. No, these things happen. Technical difficulties all the time. I totally get it. But yeah, no. I figured I needed a backup plan for me. Because these wrestling is not always going to be there. One day I'm going to get old and grow weary. So I need that backup plan. So I figured it's better be safe than sorry, and that kind of pushed me through. And I'm not a quitter. Once I start something, I got to see it to the end. So that's just me by nature.
All right. So now back to the wrestling portion, because the education, again, I think is very, very important. And it's very admirable. Again, that, one, you're not a quitter, but two, that's a role model, because one, people see that and they go, well, I can go to school and I can finish it. I can get a degree. That's just right there where I think a lot of folks forget that, education is key. You can do this and be successful at it. But again, there's not the backup plan, but there's just should always be a backbone. Like you said, your family was very supportive, and that's kind of what you guys, is expected. So what are your goals as far as your career goes in wrestling? Where do you've got this nice title now, time for a title defense coming up really soon, on the 16th, I believe. What else? What do you want? How do you want the wrestling world to remember Darius Lockhart?
Well, I guess the answer to the last question, how I want people to remember me, I want people to remember me as, like I said, someone who, I guess I always go by the motto, I want to be who I needed when I was younger. So I do kind of want to create that influence. I do want to be an advocate for representation for so many kids, of all shapes and sizes and creeds, colors and everything like that. Yes, I definitely want to be that, that guy for Black children to see themselves in me. But, lately I've been thinking it doesn't really matter what race. I think anyone seeing someone who can put their values out in public and use their powers for good, I suppose, is something admirable. So I hope I can be that beacon for a bunch of people. But I also want to be known as a hard worker. I want to be known as a great wrestler. I want to be one of the greatest of all time. You know what I mean? Who doesn't want that, of course? I think success is what you make it. Success is just, it's, what do you call it? When it's different things to different people. It's subjective. So to me right now, I plan on defending this title everywhere. That's definitely what my next goals are. But overall, I guess I want to be, a fixture, someone historic, an icon, sadly to say, of professional wrestling. And short term, WWE would be nice one day, but right now I kind of want to just create this legacy or a nice body of work on the independents that people can really enjoy and accept and love and show to other people and show that wrestling's cool.
Yeah, you've definitely started down that path. It is a nice couple footsteps, and I'm pretty sure sooner rather than later you're going to break out into that sprint right to their goal.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm back, Darius.
Okay. Hey, well.
Speaking of, breaking out and stuff, you had the opportunity to go and travel and study abroad, and you went to the UK to train. And I don't want to go too in depth in that because I definitely want to get into this coming weekend. But how was it traveling to England and traveling and learning from some of the greats over there?
When I tell you, it was so exciting because I was one of those guys who looked up to that generation of travelers. I never wanted to go straight to WWE. I looked up to people like Chris Jericho, who went to Mexico, went to Europe, went to Japan, went to Mexico, all over the place. So it was so exciting to me because on the plane ride there, I just remember thinking to myself, wow, I'm actually doing it the way I wanted to do it. And I knew it would be hard. I knew there was going to be a lot of no's, but man, it was entirely worth it. Going over there, and I initially wanted to train with Marty Jones, who trained William Regal. People are not familiar. He's one of the World of Sports originals, and he was a legendary wrestler. He's amazing. One of the best baby faces in all time. But Marty, I went over there kind of nervous because I heard Marty can be, not so accepting. He's tough. He likes what he likes. But Marty took me with open arms. And I always used to joke with him that our relationship was kind of akin to Creed and Rocky. Creed from the newer movie, not the older one, but like yeah, we were Creed and Rocky, and I went over there and trained. That was my Philadelphia, I suppose, and we worked together. And he took immediate liking to me. He felt we grew an awesome connection over there. So I was much love, respect for Marty Jones. I was there the entire time training with him, but also stepping in the ring with people that I watched tapes of, like Johnny Saint and Johnny Kidd. That was amazing. That was mind blowing that these guys were in front of me and willing to teach me. People like Nigel McGuinness, people like Tommaso Ciampa did a little stint over there. DJ Z did a little stint over there. So, and with, British wrestling, I also learned the WWE style from people like Tommaso. I also learned Lucha from people like DJ Z. So it was just a plethora of wrestling styles that I got to dabble in and learn and better myself. So it's invaluable. So investing in yourself is the one thing I can tell any wrestler to do. Invest in yourself no matter how it looks. I invested in myself when I went over to Europe, so I definitely could pass that on to other people. Please invest in yourself if you're a wrestler listening to this.
I'll tell you what, man. I was super excited when Joe had told me, like, look, man, hey, Darius is going to Europe. And I was like, Darius who? He's like, Darius Lockhart's going to Europe to train and wrestle and stuff. And I was like, what? I was like, oh, shit, like, cool. So, like, I was super happy to see you get that experience. But with that being said, this Saturday, you have a huge, huge match coming up, man. It's your first title defense for the PWX ITV title. And it's against somebody that you met across the pond, as they like to say, Nathan Cruz.
Yes.
What is your thoughts going into this, man? Because, I'm keeping up with you on social media and I've seen the promo and I love the promo. Love the promo video that you put out and stuff. And like you said in your promo, now the tables have kind of turned where you're no longer in England wrestling him. Like now he's traveling to America. He's coming to North Carolina. He's coming to your backyard to wrestle you. Is the pressure on, man, not only as far as winning the match, but having a great wrestling match in front of your hometown? Is the pressure on? What are you thinking and what's your mind state going into this weekend?
Yeah, no, the pressure is most certainly on. I'm sure you can relate, Will. You ask for that spotlight so much, and you beg for it, and then when you finally get it, it's like, oh, damn, y'all really let me have the ball? Like, so
exactly.
Yeah, it's so nervous, but I'm also excited because Nathan is one of those people that I met, and I've seen some of his matches, and he's such an intense competitor, but he's also so good and smooth at what he's doing. So this is a test for me personally. I love hard work. I love testing myself. So for me to just go into this, I think no matter, of course, I want to pull away the win, defend my championship. I put so much time and energy to get it. I'm not losing anytime soon. I don't want that. All respect to Nathan, but win, lose, or draw, if I can hang with someone as accomplished as Nathan Cruz, that right there is the world to me. That means just as much as a championship to me, honestly, at this point. I said years ago in another interview that the respect of my peers means an incredible amount to me. So I feel like if I can go in there and hang with someone as accomplished as Nathan Cruz, that says a lot about my ability and what I could be doing a year from now, 2 years from now. So, the possibilities are endless.
Well, I want to say, because you talk about your abilities and what you can do a year from now. Like I said, I remember when I first met you like 3 years ago and stuff, man. You were having fantastic matches with Cedric, and then I remember that amazing match you had with Joe at Firestar in Greensboro. And now, I'm looking at you wrestling and stuff, and you and Elijah Evans had a knockout, drag-out fight, man. And like I said, I was in the building. I felt the energy, and I was like, man, like I can't believe this is the guy that was asking me for advice, 2-3 years ago. Hey, Will, can you watch my match? It's like, shit, I almost feel like I should ask him to give me advice sometimes.
I still need Will Huckabee to watch my matches. What's going to tell me when I'm screwing up?
Okay, so I want to say them. Oh, yeah, I'll get to that later. But I love what you're doing because you said, you don't want to lose my title right now. But on your social media, and I'm going to plug that always because you're doing something totally different than a lot of guys who win, titles on the independents, where you're taking your title into the community. Like, hey, look, this is Darius Lockhart, but Darius Lockhart is more than just what you see in the ring. Like, I'm a sum of the community around me. So it's pictures of you with your nephews and pictures of you in the barbershop and pictures of you in church and stuff. How has the community reacted to Darius Lockhart?
Man, I'm gonna tell you one thing. One of the best feelings in the world is walking back to a place you grew up in, or that is always, almost, I guess, molded you into who you are. Was something that's going to make them proud. I can't even begin to tell you how awesome this has been for me. to be able to come back and say, you know, look, I did this. I did exactly what I said I was going to do 5 years ago. And thankfully, you guys believed in me to the point where I could make it here. So, you know, it's awesome to be able to almost give them back their investment. You know what I mean? To show them that people have been so supportive and so proud, from the barbershop, like I said, to the nephews, to the church congregation. It's all so surreal I'm just thankful I can bring that back to them, and the fact that they give me so much love is just, I can't even begin to put it into words, Phil.
I tell you what, man, and I know it might seem like I'm kissing your ass or whatever the case. I'm falling all over you, but
no.
There's so many great things that I love about you, and like I said, it's because there's more to just Darius Lockhart than the gentleman that we see in the wrestling ring. Like Mika, I don't know if you ever got a chance to meet Darius's mom, but I think that one of the greatest things about Darius is the fact that you are privileged, and I don't even know if you know this or not, but you have the privilege that your mom, every time I've ever gone to a PWX show, to see you or some of my friends or whatever, just to check you guys out and see what's going on, like your mother is always there. Your mom is always there, and I always ask your mom, hey, Mama Lockhart, how's it going? What do you think about your baby boy? And she's always just beaming with pride. Whether you lose, whether you win, she's just happy of who you are. In your opinion, how is it easier to be a wrestler knowing that you have the support of your family?
100%. You know, there's a lot of times that, like I said, you can understand as a wrestler, you're not even too sure that you're heading the right direction, that you're doing the right thing, or that it's going to end out the way you want it to end out. So that to come back home and sometimes, you know, have that peace of mind and have that family support and saying, hey, you can do this. You got it 100%, rather than, you know, sometimes people don't have that benefit where their families don't support them, their families aren't behind them. It's a priceless thing. My mother has helped me so many times throughout this time, both morally and just helping me out, I guess, with certain things, whether we work in a merchandise booth or just saying, hey, son, you got this. I believe you can do it. Like you said, people don't have that. I'm privileged. You said privilege is the best word for it. I'm beyond blessed, man. So I'm very lucky to have someone like her and the rest of my family as well.
Now, I'm going to go ahead. Mika, if you have one more question, you got to get in because I know our time is running short with Darius. If you got one more question you want to get in with Darius?
I have one more question, and it's like, it's a super serious question, and I apologize. Like, there was something that I was looking at, and it really was drawn to me. Like, did you ever get that match with you and Fred Yehi, that Connect 4 match, you know? Or
man, you know what? He's dodging me. You know, I'm about to bust into tears right now because I'm so angry. I think he's scared, man.
Don't cry.
No, Fred's dodging me, man. And he knows what he's doing. And it's meticulous, and I don't appreciate it. So you know what? When we're going to have to live stream it somewhere. We're going to have to put this on the Fight Network or something. Freddie Yehi versus Darius Lockhart Connect 4. It's got to go down. I'm serious.
I need this to happen, and whatever I can do to help facilitate that, you know, I'm not above kidnapping or holding somebody ransom just so you can get your Connect 4 match. I'm down with that, okay? Just put that out.
Well, you know what? I just realized something. I just remember looking back today, PWX announced another match where Freddie Yehi is going to be there this weekend. Freddie Yehi is going to be in the building. So you know what? I'm about to bring my Connect 4 board, and he ain't running. We're not getting away this time.
No place to run. No place to hide.
No place to hide.
I'm about to say, look, I'm gonna be in West Virginia, so you've got to hit me up with the Facebook Live so I can see who wins this. Because Fred Yehi says that he's the Connect 4 champion, man.
He says that, but I don't believe him. You know, I'm walking away with 2 belts after Sunday.
Boom! There you go.
There you go.
Well, look, Darius, when we announced that you were going to be on the show today, I may or may not. I'm not gonna put the person out there, but somebody, a fan of yours, messaged us and was so happy that you were going to be on the show because you have, and I quote, a magnificent butt.
I am so glad you said that and not me. I'm just saying.
Were you thinking that, Mika?
I take the Fifth Amendment on grounds that yes, he has a nice backside. Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
I might ask you.
Or something.
I'm going to ask you, Darius, because we always see on Facebook where the ladies of wrestling always get those creepy, pervy, fan comments, our co-host Mika has gotten a couple of unsolicited pictures and messages. Now that you're making your mark, man, and people know you now. People know you in wrestling as a wrestler and stuff, and your name is getting out there with the IWC. Have you started getting some of those creepy messages and unsolicited pics?
Man, I don't know about unsolicited pics, but I've definitely got creepy messages. There's this guy that commented on the CWF YouTube channel, and one of my statuses, and even messaged me that he wants to have some kind of Texas bull rope bondage grapple wrestling match with me.
Oh my God.
He looks like a creepy old Stan Hansen, and it's just like, it's so weird, bro. I had to block him. And I wish I was telling you it was hot women. I wish he was telling you this chick hit me up. No, bro. It's like Stan Hansen look-alike challenging me to grapple bull rope matches, and I'm uncomfortable. So we can just move on past that.
We'll move on. For all of our listeners and fans who are not creepy, pervy, Stan Hansen lookalikes, because we don't have those kind of fans. Mika personally has those kind of fans, but the Wrestling Nerdcast, we as a podcast, as a show, we don't have those type of fans. So for our fans and listeners who are good, upstanding, wholesome citizens, what do you have coming up this weekend and next weekend, whatever in the upcoming weeks? And where can they follow everything about the revolutionary Darius Lockhart?
This weekend I will be at PWX Wrestling Eye of the Beholder in Shelby, North Carolina. You can find that information out on PWX Wrestling. I'll be defending my championship for the first time in-house against United Kingdom star Nathan Cruz. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have a lot of great matches in. It's going to be fantastic. Sunday, I'm going to be on the road with some other traveling wrestlers. There's no telling where we'll end up. And I guess you can follow me anywhere you can follow me on Instagram at Darius Lockhart. That's where you see most of my pictures and interactions with the community. I'm doing some unique things on my Instagram, so I definitely recommend you check me out there. But please also follow me on Twitter at DLockPro. That's also where I'm posting most of my dates and shows. So please, thank you. Please support me, and I appreciate everyone.
Well, there you go, man. Like I said, Darius, I appreciate you having spending time with us and stuff, man. Getting to let us know the real Darius Lockhart and the mind state behind the revolutionary man.
Oh, of course. And let me just say that, I was planning not to do interviews for a while, but once you asked me, I had to do it for you, Will. I really appreciate you. You guys took me on my first road trip, and you took care of me.
You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.